Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. This is my latest video in my Eyes Wide Shut collection. To see my other videos, make sure you check out the playlists. I've got everything organized for you. Everything you want to know about Eyes Wide Shut is all in here. Today we're going to explore the possibility that maybe Dr. Bill and his wife Alice are in serious debt, and this is why they probably had no choice but to give away their daughter. We're going to look at all of the evidence in the movie to prove this theory. And I want to give a really big shout out to user Hannah Kami 1874 has brought this to my attention. And I'll be honest with you guys, I have not thought about this before. It just shows the level of quality of you guys in this channel. The IQ level is off the chart. I am serious. And after reading this, I am pretty convinced that Dr. Bill and Alice were in serious debt. So let's read this for a second. So this is regarding all of the Miller signs that you see throughout the film. There's Miller Street signs, there's Miller Light, Miller Bud Light, Miller everywhere throughout the film, dotted around. So why is that? Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. Because Stanley Kubrick doesn't do with coincidences. Everything is there for a reason. And these were sets specifically made for this movie. So let's read this. Thoughts on Threadmill. This took me a couple of days to mull over, but now we have the revelation of the Miller Street sign and all of the Miller beer signs. I started to notice the large building in the background that says Threadmills in the fading red letters. I think this building is actually significant to the story. For one, it definitely predates the costume shop, showing Miller's presence in the past as well as now. Coincidentally, I read that these old hand painting buildings, advertisements and signs were referred to as ghost buildings or ghost paintings, and were painted by wall dogs. Do you all remember the children's story of Rumpelstiltskin? It's the story of Miller who couldn't pay a debt, so he gives away his daughter to a king to pay off the debt. The Miller tells the king that the daughter can spin straw into gold. The mysterious magical Rumpelstiltskin helps the miller's daughter spin the golden thread with the promise of the firstborn child in exchange. Could this be a metaphor for Millich's daughter being sold to pay a debt? Or could it be Dr. Bill's daughter? Lastly, Alfred Lord wrote a poem called The Miller's Daughter in the 1800s. It's about a man reflecting on his marriage to his wife Alice. Could this imply that Alice was also sold to pay a debt? I have actually read Miller's Daughter, the poem, and it is indeed about forcing somebody into marriage. And I am pretty convinced that a lot of these SRA survivors or MK Ultras are forced into marriage with very rich men. And this has happened in our lifetime. You just have to look at Marilyn Monroe, for example. She was a major star. She was also married to some of the richest men in the world. And we also know that Marilyn Monroe was an MK Ultra as well. And there's lots of hints of Marilyn Monroe throughout this movie, especially in the toy shop. So it's all connecting. So could it be that Alice here was forced into marriage with Dr. Bill, into an unhappy marriage, according to the poem Miller's Daughter? Because she was forced into marriage and she has been very, very unhappy about it. And you can see it's a very unhappy marriage. She does not smile once during the marriage. And her husband doesn't see her, doesn't show her any affection, unless obviously he wants to get it on. But apart from that, he doesn't see her, doesn't listen to her. She is extremely unhappy, very similar to what happens in Miller's Daughter. And we know a lot of these SRA victims get forced into marriages, into rich husbands, for various reasons. Number one, for power. Number two, to steal their wealth. Because these elites, they want a monopoly, they want everything. So let's talk about the debt part, shall we? So let's talk about this particular scene. And this scene always troubled me. Always. A payment is expected when services are rendered, unless other arrangements can be made in advance. So this always has troubled me, and I couldn't figure out why. Because I thought about it, and when Dr. Bill was in the mansion party, and Red Cloak gave him a warning, and maybe they came to some sort of oath, a promise that, Dr. Bill would keep quiet. So that is an oath. That is not a debt, by the way. So that always troubled me. I was thinking, what debt does Dr. Bill owe? And finally, it's just clicked into place. I think Dr. Bill and Alice are in serious debt financially. I'm in serious debt. So let's look at all of the evidence, shall we? So let's start with the very first shot. Dr. Bill here is looking out the window in the dark. Now, why would he do that? Perhaps he feels like he's being followed. And why is the lights off? I know for a fact that if I want to look out the window at night, and if I know that somebody is staring at me, I would switch off my lights. I wouldn't want them to know that I'm looking at them, basically. So it seems like intentionally Dr. Bill has switched off the light in his study. And he's looking out the window. Perhaps there's certain people following him. Why? Maybe he owes people money. Let's think about this for a second, guys. Dr. Bill has an amazing apartment here. Amazing. The square footage of this apartment is huge. It's in a nice area. The property is probably worth millions. Yet, Dr. Harford here, I think he's most likely a middle class. He's a hard-working doctor. He does house calls in the evening. And if we look at Dr. Bill, he is very poor with his money. Very poor. Somebody like this would easily get into debt without even knowing. I mean, look at the evidence here. Firstly, he doesn't seem to trust money. He doesn't seem to respect money. He leaves his money lying around. He doesn't know where his wallet is. when he uses the cab driver to go to the mansion party, he literally tears the money in half in front of us. I mean, who does that? Do you do that? I certainly don't do that. And also, he gives money to Domino without even paying for any services. He obviously didn't do anything with her, but he still pays her. So he's very, very bad with money. And I think Alice knows this. Because think about it for a second. Who's in charge of his money? It's Alice. Because Alice knows exactly where the wallet is. She's in charge, so she knows about his finances. She probably knows that he's in debt. So she would be the first one to know that he's heavily in debt. I don't think Dr. Bill knows. He's still spending his cash like he's a billionaire. But I think Alice knows that he's got no money. How do we know this? Well, do you remember the toy shop at the end? When they're shopping? And Helena's going through the toy shop. She's picking out all of these toys. And Alice is saying no to everything. What is the point of going to the toy shop shopping if you're going to say no to everything? As we know, Helena was given away to these men at the end. But if you notice, she didn't buy anything. At least they could have bought her something. What's the point in going to the toy shop then? They could have just done the exchange outside their apartment. The reason they didn't buy anything in the toy shop is because they got no money. Just think about it. Alice says when she was dancing with Sandor, she's looking for a job. So what woman would say that if her husband is well off? Tell me. Look, guys, I've got a missus. She doesn't work. But she enjoys her time. She does, she loves doing her art. She meets her friends. She does a bit of social media here and there. A woman is not going to go and work just for the fun of it. She will only work if you're desperate for money, if you need money. If the husband is well off or rich, and if there's no point in working, then there's no point in working. So she says to Sandor she's looking for a job. Why would she say that? And the fact that she used to have a gallery, or she was the manager of a gallery, and it went broke. So maybe Dr. Bill here inherited Alice's debt. Who knows? But I'll tell you one thing. I think that Dr. Bill is spending way beyond his means here. He's spending money. He's showing off his doctor's card like he's some sort of billionaire, but he's not. He's only a middle class. Doctors work hard, yeah, but they're not rich. They've got to pay almost half their salary to tax. And this property, we don't know if it's mortgaged or not. If it's mortgaged, then that's it. All of his money will be gone. I think Alice knows that he is in serious debt here. Maybe Dr. Bill knows, but he does a good job keeping it secret. So let's look at the next shot. So examine this shot in Ziegler's party very carefully. This shot always troubled me as well. Why would she lie to her husband saying she's going to the toilet when she's not? And the first thing she does is grabs a champagne glass and chugs it down like water. Why would she do that? Doesn't make any sense, right? Well, it makes perfect sense if you think about it. She knows Dr. Bill is in serious debt because she's in charge of his finances. So what is she going to do? She needs to find somebody else who is richer. She needs to jump ship. So this is why she left Dr. Bill with Nick. She obviously knows Nick as well from the parties. But she is here not for Dr. Bill, but she is here to find another rich husband. I mean, look at the way she's acting. She just chugs down the champagne glass like it's water, like it's nothing. She's almost like she's psyching herself up. She's saying, come on, let's go. She's up to something. She's psyching herself up for definitely something. And this is when she meets Sandor. And then one thing leads to another. And I believe her and Sandor get it on. And this is why you see the song, Baby Did a Bad, Bad Thing. And later on in the movie, you see her teaching her young daughter, saying, if A has this much money, and if B has this much money, who would you go with? You would obviously go with the guy with more money. So that's what she's done. I think Alice was ready to jump ship because she knows Bill is in serious debt here. And this is why she sabotages the relationship. By saying that she's having a dream where she's running away and doing things with that naval officer. She did that on purpose to sabotage the relationship. And to be honest with you guys, to be absolutely honest, you got to put yourself in her shoes. What would you do in that situation? It's survival, end of the day. She's got a daughter. Plus, look at her. She's amazing. She probably feels that she deserves much more. She's very unhappy in her marriage. And the reason she was with Dr. Bill was probably because of his money. He's got an amazing apartment. But when that money runs out, when you're in serious debt, there's nothing keeping you in that marriage. You got to look after yourself and your daughter. They come first. So that's what she's doing. She's putting herself first. I think any woman would in her situation. You cannot blame her. And another reason why I think that Dr. Bill here is not very rich, because the first elevator shot we see of Dr. Bill coming out after Ziegler's party, this is the next day after Ziegler's party, we see him turning up for work. And look at his tie. Take a good look at his tie. So let's fast forward to... So you can see a few days later, after the mansion party, he comes to the hotel. And look at his tie. It's exactly the same. He's wearing the same tie. So if he was so rich, why is he wearing the same tie? I mean, look, I'm not that rich, but when I go to work, I make sure I wear a different tie every single day. It's just something you have to do. I don't know about you. You wear a different shirt and a different tie. You don't want your colleagues to know you're wearing the same clothes every single day and you're not very hygienic. And he's a doctor, for God's sake. So why would he wear the same tie? Again, a few days later, we see Dr. Bill at Ziegler's study or games room, and we see him wearing the same tie. So you might say to yourself, hang on a second, what are you getting at exactly? People can have the same tie in their wardrobes. Yes, they can, possibility. I have a few ties which are exactly the same. But maybe you should think about the possibility that maybe Dr. Bill here is not that rich. And he cannot afford to have a wardrobe full of different types of ties. And he is pretty much living life paycheck to paycheck at the moment. Because if you think about it, he's got a huge house. He's probably got a big mortgage. He's got a wife who doesn't work, so he's got to look after her as well, and a daughter. He's got a lot of expenses, guys. I do not think he's rich at all. I think he's surviving paycheck to paycheck here. Or he could be in some serious debt that he doesn't even know about it. Or he's in denial. The clues are there throughout the movie. And at the end of the film, what do we see happen? They give away their daughter, just like that Miller's example. So you see here, everything's making sense. Now we are starting to understand the reasoning behind Miller, why we see Miller everywhere in the movie. Stanley Kubrick was trying to tell us that Dr. Bill and Alice are in serious debt. And to survive, they had to give away their daughter. And that major sign you see in Dr. Bill's office, this sign, payment is expected when services are rendered unless other arrangements are made in advance. This makes perfect sense why Stanley Kubrick would put this here. I think Dr. Bill here is a product of capitalism. When capitalism goes wrong. I'm not against capitalism here, but when you have unchecked capitalism, things can go wrong. In reality, Dr. Bill should be having an amazing life. He should be debt-free. He's a doctor. He works hard. He does house calls. He should be having a great life with his family. But in fact, the reality is, Dr. Bill, along with millions of other people who have got really good jobs, are struggling to make ends meet. They are living paycheck to paycheck, despite having great jobs, because the cost of living is so high. And people are becoming into huge amounts of debt in this modern capitalist system that we have. Credit card debts are at all-time high at the moment. Trillions we're talking about. This is what happens when there's unchecked capitalism. and when there's usury, for example. Also, another thing that Hannah has brought up is the fact that he's got golf clubs in his apartment. When's the last time you played golf, real golf, in New York? Never, because there isn't any golf clubs in New York. Not that I know of. I know there's a massive Central Park, but I don't think they play golf there. You have to go further out to play golf, like in the Hamptons or something. So why would he keep golf clubs inside his apartment? Why couldn't he leave it in a country club or something? Because he doesn't have the money, that's why. He doesn't have the money to leave it in a fancy country club in the Hamptons. So he carries it around with him. Takes it around with him everywhere. Anyway, I'll end it there, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree that we've uncovered another hidden layer that Stanley Kubrick's trying to tell us? And perhaps we've solved another mystery in the movie? I think so. And it's thanks to Hannah. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate all of you guys. I think together we are uncovering more and more secrets about this movie. Things that nobody else has. You're not going to see any of this in any Reddit channels or any other channels. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.